On Monday, 29th May this year, President Biden 1970s. On June 12th this year, the president called the removal of fuel subsidy a necessary sacrifice. The government will repay Nigerians through massive investments in transportation, infrastructure, education, regular power supply, health care, and other public utilities.
The fresh subsidy is gone.
I have asked you, my compatriots, to sacrifice a little more.
The president requested the passage of the 500 billion naira from the supplementary budget for subsidy palliatives, and the House of Representatives granted speedy approval on 14th the president's request. Remember, a fuel subsidy is a measure taken by the government to lower the price for the general public. It entails offering monetary aid or incentives to make up for prices of fuel products such as gasoline, diesel, or LPG, liquefied petroleum, that is intended to make the effect of a problem less. Tinubu has revealed that his administration will share 8,000 naira each to 12 million vulnerable households to cushion the negative effect of the federal government's recent removal of fuel subsidy. The 500 billion naira will be given as palliatives in the form of conditional cash transfers directly to the bank accounts of the two, on the effect of the palliative on poor and vulnerable citizens. Recently, the President, Bola Tinubu, wrote to the House of Representatives to approve a 500 referred to as subsidy palliative. Well, we are in the streets of Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital, to find out from citizens how this subsidy palliative will affect them.
I'm not in support of the opinion that they should give out palliative, because the reason is that when they bring palliative into Nigeria, it does not circulate into different homes. Just few people benefited from it. Then another thing, in this current situation that we are now in this country, I don't see the need. We don't see the need in this country for us to say let the government give out palliative.
The government, in my people's mind, they say their mind, just wake up one day and make giving false promises to the media and the people coin. But now we are still using the same naira note, and now they are telling us that they are changing, they are getting 5 billion. This 5 billion, where and where, who and where, which point is this money being circulated to, so that it will help the people? The people really need help. I don't know, for them, at times they used to make me feel Nigeria is not my country. I made a mistake coming, because they say what they don't want to do, and they keep promising, knowing that the people will support them. They do another thing entirely. They don't stick to the people. And I really think that without 5 billion of a thing, if it so pleases him, because to me, I don't think that money will make any difference. The only thing is that we've heard they are getting 5 billion, but in the end of it, you hear this 5 billion has been squandered. Another money will be requested.
I think in Nigeria, it's all about politics. So channeling the money to palliative, some poor homes will not be the beneficiary of those palliatives. So I think we should channel the money and repair our refinery so that at least everyone will benefit.
Ever since I was born in this Nigeria as a country, I've never heard anything like palliative that has gotten to a common man. Me, I've never benefited from palliative. Even the lowest as the corona palliative, I did not see. How much more this fuel subsidy palliative that they want to do?
My problem is they should solve this problem because it affects everybody. Fuel now is 500 and something, and then it affects workers. They don't increase their salary, but they are increasing fuel. How would they pay to work, pay their fee, transport to work? And now a single drop is 100 naira. Some places are 200. And so to and fro is difficult. So I am begging them, either they can do something to fix it, not for them to put money in any palliative that will not benefit the masses. Few people will chop the palliative, because last one I did not even see it, talk less of eating it.
I believe it's not a step in the right direction, because right from the onset, the government have not been spending their money wisely. The money should have been taken should be taken for maybe for the vulnerables, for people that are not are not good, I don't have physical cash, or they should have constituted a program such as the End Power and the other program that could have helped and cushioned the effect of the fuel subsidy. But this palliative is just a thing of the bourgeoisie class, the rich class, and taking the money for themselves. So I don't buy the idea of the palliative, because I believe it's still a scam by the government on running a fuel subsidy.
The president had earlier told a group of former governors at Aso Villa, "I understand that our people are suffering, yet there can be no childbirth without pain." Citizens therefore advised the government on some ideas they could channel the 500 billion naira to instead of the proposed fuel subsidy palliative.
We need the government to use that fund. Understand? We need the government to use that fund to repair our refineries, to make sure our refineries come to life. So that I think through that, the economy will set back. Thank you very much. Yeah.
So they should better do something that will benefit the people than getting money. Money will not solve the problem. That's it. Okay.
I don't think I support 500 billion, right, be circulated for palliative. I think they should channel the money to our refinery so that it will benefit us.
Please, if they want to do anything and they want people to benefit, they should put it into something else like agriculture, education, especially. Like me, that I'm a student. Before you know now, they'll do strike. Before you know, they'll say, go home and sit down. Then they want to do palliative. That palliative, they already have a list of people that they want to write there, and they've written down their names and they want to share the money to. It's just they cover up for their underground works. So please, I don't agree to it.
I think, in my own opinion, they will use the money to fix problems in either refinery or in any way we have problem in fear. Not in anything like palliative, because we will just eat and it will finish. That problem will still exist. So for my own, I will beg the government to leave the palliative and concentrate on fixing the problem in that field. Either if we have a problem in the refinery, they fix it, remove those things that are bad. They fix the new thing, use that money to fix those things. And before we know it, this fuel will come down so that we all will benefit at the end. Not to do things that will still affect us, even our generation, even the one unborn. So that is my own opinion.
Then my advice is to the government that they therefore come up with a program that can help the people that are not employed. Because if you check the rate at which employment opportunity in Nigeria, we are below par. So the constitute a one that will help most of the graduates that are out of work and people that are out of work, just like the Empower and everything that can help cushion the fare. But coming out with a palliative, and this palliative that they said is 8,000 naira per homes. It's 8,000 naira per. What can 8,000 naira do? 8,000 naira cannot help anybody. So with such, it's not the right step in the right direction.
Apparently, the sum of 500 billion naira will be sourced from the 2022 Supplementary Appropriation Act of 819.5 billion naira for the provision of palliatives to Nigerians to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy removal. The impact is great.
Well, we've heard from the citizens. We hope the government listens, because the power of the people, they say, is greater than the people in power. I am Blessing Dixon, reporting for Spectrum Television News.
It's a bright Wednesday morning, of course. My name is Uyai Aneka, and we are coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. This is Rise and Shine. Of course, palliative conversations still trailing us, subsidy removal conversations still trailing us this morning.
Of course, subsidy has been on the front burner for the longest time, since May 29th, when President Ahmed Bola Tinubu announced that the area of fuel subsidy is gone. Of course, we know that just about a week after the two-day nationwide warning strike that was organized by the Nigerian Labour Congress, we see that the NLC is threatening an indefinite strike should the federal government fail to meet its demand at the end of the 21-day ultimatum, which will expire in just about a week from now. The workers' union said the proposed strike was necessary following the failure of the federal government to provide palliatives to assuage the Nigerians' hardship as a result of the fuel subsidy removal. Of course, they said the industrial action, which may commence any day from next week, would lead to an indefinite shutdown of commercial and economic activities across the country. This is according to the National Assistant General Secretary of the NLC, Christopher Onyeka, who said the federal government was wrong to share a bag of rice to a dozen citizens while reportedly giving 100 million palliative to each member of the National Assembly. Of course, the union had on September 1 handed down a 21-day ultimatum to the federal government over the delay in the sharing of palliative, saying it might be compelled to declare indefinite labor actions if its demands were not met. Now, this has been on from the very moment that Ahmed Bola Tinubu declared an end to fuel subsidy in Nigeria. Of course, right now the conversations are spanning two things. First and foremost, you're looking at the fact that at the respective state level, it seems the community leaders, for instance, in Akwa Ibom State, who before now were trusted to be the ones who will be able to get the palliatives to the right kind of people within their communities, are failing. As of yesterday, reports of community leaders stealing bags of rice, burying bags of rice, finding, very funny, hilarious, or should we say innovative ways of hiding bags of rice, suffers. And then we ask the question, how did we even get here as a country? You're looking at the poorest of the poorest in a community, and you're looking at a community leader who obviously has a way of providing for himself and his family. But rather than allow the bags of rice get to the poorest within the community, we're hearing these stories. And that goes back to the question I asked when we saw, I think, men of the NSCDC arresting some government officials in Kwara State when the palliative distribution had just kick-started. So it's a great cause for concern. And when you look at what Labour is saying, they are well within the rights of what Nigerians are feeling right now. First and foremost, the few bags of rice that were given as palliative is not even enough to cushion the effect. Now we are talking about the fact that these few bags of rice that can be termed as crumbs has not even gotten to the people who truly needs it. And part of the blame still comes back to the government agencies. How much monitoring team was put in place? How much was invested into ensuring that, you don't just hand these things to the respective committee members. You don't literally entrust them, knowing full well that the selfishness of many can always come into play. And of course, Nigerians hadn't forgotten what happened during the COVID-19 era, where piles and piles of foodstuffs were stocked away in people's warehouses, both government and non-government officials. So it's a crazy rat race. It's a very crazy situation. It speaks so much of the inhumanity of man to man. It speaks so much of the greed, or the level of greed that we are seeing in our society. It speaks so much of the inability of people who have been trusted with leadership roles and responsibilities to actually look first and foremost for the well-being of the people that is entrusted to them, to looking out for themselves.
This definite strike, it was 2 days ago, I think that was last week now that they went on a warning strike, and it was more like, okay, we know that after this 2 days warning strike, it was kind of successful, and as a result of that, they were going to continue just having negotiations, but then having another 21-day warning ahead of an indefinite strike. But we have to look at the fact that the palliative modalities on ground literally is beginning to fail. We are not seeing it succeed. I think I was seeing a video yesterday where we saw, I think it was a bus that brought in bags of rice into a community, and it immediately, I think, community members began to steal away from, take bags of rice right from the window of the bus. So there's a lot of issues here. And when you think of the financial, components of this palliative, we really have to now think: was this the right step to take in the first place? Because it looks more like the federal government and the state governments are just going to be wasting money. The poorest of the poor, as it has been clamored for, may not even get to see these, palliatives, and these palliatives are very miserly. We are talking about, miserly number of bags of rice that will not even be able to cater for the needs of families. Then when you now bring it down to the community level, where they would do differently, we are beginning to see the fact that they are part of the people, that are the problems in the country. So now the big question is, palliative, is this going to be successful, or it's another round of massive failure we're about to see? Look again, if these palliative measures fail, how, far worse is going to be the condition of Nigerians. We're not even saying that these palliatives, are going to help Nigerians to a very large extent. This is not even handling, the effects of the subsidy removal. Giving 8 cups of rice to a family of 8 or a family of, 7 is not cushioning the effects of subsidy removal. Ask 8 family how much it costs them to feed in a day, and you realize whether or not the government has done anything effective. Now, the attempt of the government to even try to look like they did anything is still failing. So, this move of palliative was placed. These are conversations that are out there. These are concerns that are out there. And so far, so good. What, are the activities of palliatives around your own community? Would you rate it as relatively successful? Are the community members come to get the palliatives that have been released by the federal and state? Are they also part of the problems at this time? But let's move up to some more flash stories this morning. A lot of conversations are happening. We see here the fact that the abductors of the Akwa Ibom NYSC corps members who were on their way to the orientation camp have requested for an additional 200 million as ransom after collecting 13 million earlier paid by the victims' families. The fact that this conversation has been on the lay low.